Okay. I'm not like text. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another session of the Koinonia Couch. I am excited today, guys. We have a really good topic of discussion. You know, oftentimes when we're going to college and we're excited about our careers, what we're going to do, we have all these ideas of what it means to be grown. Like you're an adult at 18, but you ain't grown. You start making your own money, paying your own bills, and getting started on your careers, that type of thing. That's when you're groaning, when you no longer need to borrow money from parents and none of that good stuff, and you got your debt under control. That's when you're like grown, right? And so today, we brought some high-speed people in who are actually they've been through that stage or they're at that stage. We want all of our young adults. If you're a young adult, ages 20 through 33, you want to watch this live today and take some really good notes. Now, of course, if you have questions, you can ask your questions, and we'll answer those on live. So I don't want to waste any time with a long intro. I want to meet our guests so we get right into our topics. Okay. Let's start to my very left with a very lovely lawyer. Introduce your name, where you went to school, and what you're doing right now. Go.
My name is L'Oreal Forte. I went to school, Tennessee State for undergrad, the University of Texas at Arlington for grad school, and I'm currently a certified and licensed athletic trainer.
My name is Darnell Porter. I grew up in Arlington, Texas, went to school at the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm a portrait and wedding photographer.
My name is Chris Smith. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I graduated from a small school in Nebraska. I am a coach, I'm an investor, and I'm a Christian.
And I love that, sir. And I'm a Christian, sir, ma'am.
My name is Mariah Reed. I'm from Dallas, Texas. Went to Saxe High School and then went to UT Dallas for school. And I'm currently working in the healthcare industry.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Michaela Stevenson. I'm originally from Waco, Texas. I went to UNT and I just graduated last May. And I just got a job as a middle school theater teacher.
Awesome. And you said Mariah, right? Now, I got to do this because your name is Mariah. And the people that know that, me and Mariah, we go back like babes with pacifiers, old dirt dog, no lie, yeah. We get the MC hot like fire. Jump, let me see you move. So y'all gonna leave me out there by, really, dude? You're supposed to be by.
I was beatboxing.
You was beatboxing. Okay, we're gonna come in a little harder with the beatbox. Okay, so guys, let's get started. Let's just start here because I think let's just to get into perspective. Let's get into the mind. Think back when you were in college. To think of your senior year. Think about what was going through your mind. What might you say is going through the minds of the average senior in college, getting ready to graduate? What are the fears, expectations, excitement? What was going through your mind? What were you thinking as you're approaching graduation? Someone chime in there. Like, what were you thinking approaching graduation? L'Oreal.
I know for me, my senior year of college was a little bit different because I had just had a baby. Malia was born the fall semester of my senior year.
Okay.
And so my main thought was, how am I going to provide for her as well as graduate on time? And then there was a Delta line coming up, so I'm like, dang, and I want to pledge too. Like, how am I going to make all of this happen? And I just had a baby.
Pledge. You think about what you're going to pledge. That is the funniest thing in the world.
It was because those were things I went to college, with the mindset of doing anyway. So it was like, how am I still going to make this happen even though I just had a baby?
So you pledged after you had Malia?
She was like 4 months old when I was.
How did you do that?
Look, we'll talk about it later.
Very carefully. Okay. So just to pause right there. You graduated. So oftentimes, if a young lady gets pregnant in college, the next step is I'm going home. What made you say, you know what? I had a baby, but it doesn't change my objective of graduating from college. What made you stick to it despite what some deem as interruption? I always say that sometimes a baby can be your best motivation. Talk to me.
That's pretty much what it was. I mean, I was already on track to graduate early, so it just pushed me to graduating on time when I had Malia. And then my support system, my mom, she was just 2 hours away in Memphis. I was in Nashville. So she packed up everything. Since I'm an only child, she packed up everything and moved to Nashville. So that was my support system to get through school. And the fact that I had teachers that would allow me to bring her to class. Even on test day, I would be sitting in the back of the class nursing and taking a test at the same time. But they were just that motivated as well to get me across that stage as
Wow.
well as I was.
And you at Tennessee State?
Yes.
Yo, shout out to Tennessee State because they turned the classroom into a nursing room. That is absolutely. I mean, I say that comically, but I think that's the bomb.
Absolutely.
And that's a powerful statement, I think, to young ladies who think, or young men for that matter, that think that because that a baby is some type of, it changes things. But again, you can use that as motivation as well. And I used to say a lot of times that a baby can save someone's life, because if it wasn't for your child, you probably would still have that same lifestyle because you weren't accountable to nothing. No one had to depend on you. But a child makes it, you know what, let me check myself because my decision now impacts this life. So that's good. Anyone else approaching graduation? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so my senior year, I'm all excited because, I'm thinking degree from UT. I'm about to find a job, make $80,000, $90,000 coming out of college. That's what I was thinking.
Right.
And so I graduated in the first 3 months. I put in like maybe 50 applications. Not one person called back, not one.
Wow.
So the first 3 months I didn't have a job, and I was like, whoa, just reality hit. And so I think I graduated in May, and August was my first job out of college. $12.15 an hour at a news station, and so it was just like a reality check.
So I think I think this is a great place to start, because we would think that when I graduate college, I'm about to get this six-figure job, I'm about to ball out and all this good stuff, and then we realize that people aren't just looking to hire me. I mean, maybe I'm not the MVP I thought I was, right? So let's kind of start right there, as far as like with the money. Let's talk about, were you guys shocked to find out how expensive life was? When you ask questions like, wait a minute now, I got paid this, but after all my bills, I got this. I mean, walk through me who had a reality check when it came to how expensive it was to live? Why is it so expensive? Yeah.
I can start it off. It's, a reality check. And so I'm making $12.15 an hour, and I'm like, man, bills. I don't have like a huge amount of bills, but I had, the apartment, grocery, things like that. I'm like, this is not adding up. This is just not adding up, right? And so what it led me to do was, it basically rely on myself with my photography to be my provider of money. And so I put so much into my photography. I stopped going to church. I stopped, spending time with family and friends. It was just about money, money, money. And the lies that the devil told me was, this is how you're gonna have to provide for yourself, for your family, just work, 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 work. And so, that just led me down a negative trajectory.
So now we want to get into entrepreneurship, because I think that's something that I really want to get into, because some people they're in that tension of, do I start my business according to my passion, or do I get me a 9-to-5? So we're going to definitely get there. But for who here, you had an apartment in college? You had an apartment in college. Okay. So what was the difference between bills in college and now out of college? Because you guys both said that, it was a big difference. So what's the difference that you noticed in paying bills as a college student, and now you're out of college? What happened with the bills then? Did they go up? They get more bills? And if so, which ones? What happened?
I think for me, the basic bills of rent and car note, car insurance, but the biggest wake-up call for me is that everybody wants us to keep up with the Joneses. Social media says you need the new car, you need the new clothes, so right out of school, you're not making that much money typically, and so dealing with the normal bills that we have to pay for on top of like wanting a new car, wanting new shoes, everything just blew up in my face for a certain period of time.
So did you fall into the trap of so many college graduates that the first thing that the college graduate goes to purchase is a car?
No.
So you didn't go with the car?
I just got my car this year.
Okay, so you were a disciplined college graduate, because sometimes we want to get the new car because our mindset is, see, throughout college, we always see people coming back to college for homecoming, and this person has graduated a couple years, they pull him back up in their brand new car note. And so, y'all caught that? They pull up in their brand new car note. And so in our mind, we're thinking that, man, I can't wait till I graduate to get me a brand new car note. And so this one thing I want to share, when you graduate, young adult person, don't be so quick to go out and get a new bill. give yourself about 6 months to a year to get adjusted to life as an adult. You don't want to go out and grab new bills because something's going to happen in the area of student loans, and you can defer those for so long, and then that's like a child that you got to raise to they're 30 years old. And so you guys are saying that bills became a little heavier after graduation. Sarah, what happened? How did that happen?
Well, when I was in college, my parents were paying my bills.
Your parents paid your bills.
Yeah, I thank God for them. But now,
I do too. I'm jealous.
They've cut me off, and I pay my own bills.
Your parents cut you off when you graduated?
Not in a bad way. Like, they know I'm responsible enough, and so I pay all my own bills. I'm saving up for an apartment right now. I did get a new car, but it's because my old car was too old. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard because I like to spend money, and I have to learn how to budget.
So spending money is like your spiritual gift.
Yeah.
And budgeting is not.
It's not.
Okay.
We're working on it though. We're praying about it.
What's your source of how are you learning how to budget? What tool are you using?
Well, right now I'm just kind of whenever I get my paycheck, I put my bills up first. So
Okay.
I budget what I need for my bills first, and then if I need groceries, if I need gas, I have like my spending money. But yeah.
Now, practically speaking, I want to give some pragmatic tools to people that are watching. When it comes to a budget, it's all about here's what I have coming in, here's what I need to pay for. But you start with what you have. So you start with here's what I have income-wise, here's what I need to pay for. And if the two don't match, you take a red ink pen and start making lines on the right side of things you say that you need, because certain things you don't really need, you just really want. There's nothing wrong with a new car, but it could be a new car to you, but not brand new. It doesn't have to be a 2020. Listen. If you've never driven it, even if it's 10 years old, that's a new car. And so I try to tell people, so you draw lines to what you don't need until it matches up with your budget. But here's the key. It should match up with your budget, but it should still leave about 20% in the black. That means that all of your bills should come up to at the max 80% of what you bring in. And if it doesn't, you are going to be living beyond your means. And if everything is a necessity, you can't draw a red line through anything. What you need to do then is find you 2 jobs. Because if you're not making the money, you set yourself up for a lot of stress and you're defeated early. And so first thing when you're getting out of school and you get a job, get yourself a budget. Anyone else want to add to that? As far as the reality of bills and that money truly does make the world go round, Chris?
Yeah, I'll speak on that. When I was in college, my first 3 years of college, I didn't have an adopted family. My fourth year, with a third and going into my fourth year, I had an adopted family that brought me into their family, Christian home, and they taught me finances. That was something that I was able to experience in college that if I never would have went through that experience, I would never be where I am.
So what tools did they use to teach you about finance?
Well, I would go to their home. They have a 6-year-old boy. They would actually have him watching Dave Ramsey every Sunday, as well as church. Yeah. So he was watching, and I had never experienced that, and I'm 22 years old, thinking this 6-year-old is really watching an entrepreneur every day as if that's his practice. I can only imagine when he turns 18. And I was learning principles at that age that, I wasn't even able to understand. So just seeing that foundation of what they were able to bring in their budgeting philosophies, and it just gave me a different perspective on.
How long ago was that you introduced to Dave Ramsey?
I was 19.
And how old are you now?
22.
So have you actually started some of those principles with Dave Ramsey?
As soon as I saw it, I started immediately.
So did you start Financial Peace University? Did you start the Financial Peace University, Dave Ramsey with the...
Oh, no, I did not do that, no.
Okay.
No, I did not start that, but I was, as far as just his general principles as far as saving and investing, I've been able to be introduced to foreign exchange, currencies, real estate. Okay. All things that,
So you making some money now? You making some money?
I do okay, but...
You doing pretty good?
I'm nowhere where I want to be.
You married yet?
No, not yet.
Because I also like a dating thing too. That's one of my gifts. So he's single, and he knows about budgeting. He knows about Dave Ramsey. He knows about foreign exchange, and he's light skinned. So we're gonna talk about that a little later. But if there was one principle to extract from Dave Ramsey, he's really big on debt. He believes in no debt, no debt. And so, and young people, when you graduate, and we talked about this the other week about being in college. I think Charles brought this up. You only need $2,000, but you get a $5,000 loan. Well, guess what? That's not your money.
Right.
And when you graduate, they're going to want their money, and they're going to want it for the next 30 years. And so if you're in school, especially guys, don't take money that you do not need, and don't mess up your credit early by getting behind on your student loan payments. Because, I mean, you're going to want a house one day. Now, one of you guys are already homeowners, right? Homeowners? Which one? You home? Okay, I'm coming to you in a second. You said something about church. Right. You said that that on every Sunday they're watching Dave Ramsey and that type thing. Now, people, I need y'all to think, how many guys were raised in a Christian home here? Raised in a Christian home? Okay. Did you have a period of time in college where you strayed away from church or felt like, you know what, I'm going to go to church if I feel like it, and most time I don't? Tell me about what happens when sometimes young people stray from church and God when they hit college. Talk to me about that.
So my freshman year, I was at my community college, so I was still going to church with my parents. And then my sophomore year, I got into my first apartment, and I just completely stopped going to church.
Why? I mean, what happened?
I don't know, but my sophomore year was the hardest year of my life. Like, it was just like depressing, and like I was away from home. I was living by myself. I wasn't going to church, and so like I just completely strayed away from school, from my social life, from my friends and my family. And so then my junior year, I finally started looking for a church home, and that's when I felt like I got my priorities straight, and I started feeling more like I had a purpose.
So should parents be, how concerned should parents be when their kids grew up in church with them and now they are no longer going to church? How concerned should a parent be?
I feel like parents should be concerned, but college is a place where we find ourselves. I know a lot of people who don't go to church, and it can go one of two ways. You know, they could go the way that I went, and so go through depression and feel lost, or they could find themselves while also trying to find this lifestyle of going to church. And so, of course, if you grow up and your parents are taking you to church every morning, and you live this Christian life, your parents should be concerned if you're not going to church. Yeah, Dr. Boyce had said something the other week as well. She was just saying that college is a place to make mistakes. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it's like a sample real world, not the real world, but it's like a sample real world where people can make mistakes. Mariah, were you about to say something about church, and why do you feel young adults nowadays, they actually stray from God when they go away from college? I mean, can anybody speak on that?
I feel like you were saying, like when we're used to parents reminding us to go to church or reminding us to get in our Bible, we don't have our personal relationship with Christ, and that's the biggest downfall. For me personally, that's what I struggle with, not having community either to push me towards Christ, and my dad being a PK, and my dad being the one who leads the house in prayer and worship. I actually started to look for that in other men. Instead of having it in myself. Wow. Which was so backwards.
How does, so you're looking for, so you found yourself gravitating towards brothers in college who could be your new dad.
Basically, because I was trying to long after a relationship with Christ that I just needed for myself.
How did that work out?
Wow, a lot of breakups, a lot of heartbreaks. But eventually just coming to Christ and learning for myself that He's got me. I don't have to go through my parents or anybody else. I have that relationship with Him.
Here's a big question. When you look back at it and you say, you know what, if I just think about it, I knew my dad was tight with his relationship with Christ. I knew who God was, but I discovered that when I got away, I was seeking for a representation of the God that I love. when you look back, do you feel you were really saved, or did you really have your own relationship prior to that, or did you form that in college?
I would say I had it prior to it just because of how I went to private school growing up. I was just engulfed in that environment. But I didn't have a relationship with Christ. I feel like I was saved. I knew who God was, but I didn't know how to access the power that God has given me and how to just talk to him and not think it's so biblical all the time instead of just more relational. So learning how to balance the two.
Did anyone have an experience like this? Because I want to stay here. Has anyone else had that type of experience whereas you knew about him and you may have strayed, and what brought you back? And L'Oreal?
I definitely had that experience. I was living a homosexual lifestyle when I went off to college. And so,
it started in college?
No, it started in high school, like freshman year of high school. And so throughout all of high school, I dated girls. And then when I got to my freshman year of college, it was still on. But by the time I got to my
freshman year... She said it was
still
on.
Right. But when I got to my freshman year of college, that's when I was like, well, shoot, I don't need God. That was something my mama was trying to force on me for me not to be gay. So now that I'm out of her house, I can do what I want to do. So I would walk around saying, I believe in a higher power, but I don't know about this whole Jesus thing. I don't understand that. And that same year of my freshman year, my mom had a terrible motorcycle accident, and I got a call saying she was dead. And so it was that night that I was like, look, God, okay, whatever I got to do,
I was just playing, God. I was just playing.
Look, if you just spare my mama, I give it all up. And I did. And I never looked back. So it was my sophomore year that I actually got into church, got rebaptized, and did all of that and really start building a relationship with Christ. And part of that came through me joining a dance group where it was mandatory we went to church. So if I didn't have to go to church, I probably would still be struggling, on that path.
And L'Oreal is part of our Yada, it's our praise dance group. Phenomenal. Listen, so since that night, has it been a struggle? I mean, has that temptation come up, or over years? I mean, how long did it? Because I believe that even when God breaks a spiritual stronghold, we still have to correct the habit.
Right.
And God don't all the time deal with the habit. He deal with the stronghold, but we have to correct the habits, the bad habits that we form. How did that happen?
Honestly, it took discipline because my roommate was still gay. My friends were still gay because we all came from school together. We came from Memphis, and we were there together. So now I was the one saying, I don't want to pursue this anymore. And the fact that they were like, okay, we support you in that. You do you. I had to be disciplined enough in front of them, one, to not be talked about.
Right.
That was one thing I wasn't about to do is, be called bi or anything like that.
Be calling what?
Bisexual.
Bi, okay.
Like, that was like a sin in being gay. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I said, and I'm going to actually try to date men. But in that, I really fell off because I'm like, okay, I'm finna find out what men are like. And so I got real happy. Right. So I got real happy and started finding out what men were like.
You got real happy?
Right.
I've never heard that term. I got happy in this. What part did the absence of a dad play in that?
You know what? Honestly, I think that played the biggest part of it because all I ever had growing up, man-wise, was my uncle. And my uncle was a man of very little words. He was not one of those ones to say, here, go put on a dress, I'm going to take you out, anything like, even though he was like a dad figure to me, all we did was play sports in the backyard and all of that. And so we would literally play basketball for hours. I played basketball, and that's where I learned about lesbian relationships, and it was so embraced. I was like, well, shoot, I can do this.
Wow.
Like, this is something I can do. I never had a dad to say, you know what, you are beautiful, you don't need that. This is what a man is. I never had a representation of a godly man, let alone a good man, period.
Wow.
Godly or not. I never had a representation of a good man to say, this is why I should date men. But
and it started in high school.
Right. Well, me leaving 8th grade, that's when I started playing
basketball. And you said that you felt that your mom was using the Bible to talk you out of being gay.
Right. She was very, God don't like that. You're not doing what God wants you to do, but yet, and Lord knows I love my mama, but we didn't even have a relationship in church like that. We would go every now and again,
Wow.
So when she would throw that at me, I'm like, but we don't even go to church. And my aunt's the same. She would be in my face saying, God don't like this, you sinning, you doing this. And I'm like, but when's the last time you went to church too?
Whoa.
So it was always that thing of y'all trying to tell me this.
Something that y'all not living.
But y'all not even living it. So I'm going to go do what I want to do when I get out your house.
And college just makes it that much more easier because now you're adult and kind of grown-ish.
Absolutely.
Wow. Is homosexuality something is that like, I know amongst dudes, it's not a real big thing, but a lot of the donors say, no, that ain't a big thing. But amongst women, I hear a lot of women have experiences in college.
I can 100% relate to your story. I think it's totally awesome how transparent you are. I've never talked about this on stage before, but I've talked about it on my social media. I used to play basketball. I had the same thing. In high school, I explored women. I didn't think I liked guys. And it all just stemmed from playing sports. Everybody around me was, gay, and I thought that was okay. And so when I was young, my first, when your hormones start getting to go and all you have is females around you, because my dad was like, no boys, no texting, no nothing. I'm like, okay, well, let me just see how this avenue
That backfired.
It did.
Whoa. I didn't mean to interrupt you because you were rolling. I mean, so you're saying, dang, okay, I'm overloaded now. So you're saying that your dad says no boy communication, but you were in a community where they didn't necessarily need boys per se.
Exactly.
And so as your hormones, you come in your womanhood, stuff like that, you start to explore. So did that blow up your weight in college? Because hers was known in high school, but I'm sure you kept yours under wraps in high school.
So, yes. So in high school, I was in the point of just like coming out, as people would say, and my dad found out. And so that was an ordeal, which I'm glad he found out because he was...
It's your pastor dad.
My pastor dad. For the first time, he sat down with me and just like cried and like met me where I was at.
Wow.
And that's what I needed from that point on. And from then, I went through a period of like being shameful and hiding it to being like, okay, this is a part of my testimony. Like women deal with this, they struggle with this, and coming open about my testimony.
Shut up. And so for you, the starting point for her, it was the trauma of possibly losing your mom. And for yours, it was seeing your dad become human and broken.
Exactly. Meeting me where I was at.
Wow. And from that point, how did you start to exercise the discipline of breaking the habits that you had formed?
Well, I got my phone taken away for a long time, so that helped. I was still in the house. But mentally, I made a lot of mistakes. Like, same story. Like, I went out and explored, lost my virginity for the first time, thinking, okay, this is going to transform me. Was not the right thing to do. But I had to just get into my word, and I had to start speaking scriptures over myself. Yeah. So whenever I had those thoughts or those feelings, I'd be like, okay, this is what God's telling me about myself. So that's what I had. I
wish I had some water. I'd throw it off. So, Mariah and L'Oreal, and can you identify with this, with what they're talking about from a college perspective, what you've seen or experienced?
I personally can't, but my best friend did. She started to feel feelings for the same sex, and I had a conversation with my mom about it, and she was like, well, does that make you uncomfortable? And I said, not really, because that's my best friend. Like, that's like my sister. And so the conversations that we had were, of course, a little awkward because I didn't know how to converse with her about it. But
So for specifically for L'Oreal and Mariah, what could you tell a young lady that's watching? And there are two young ladies watching. There's one, she's in college and she's experimenting with these other things, and people know about it, right? And two, the young lady who's about to enter a situation where she's going to be exposed to these lifestyles that she may not know how to deal with. What would you tell both or one of those young ladies before she gets to this experience where all these options are there? Or what would you tell the one who's in the midst of that experience that you guys successfully navigated through? What would you tell her? Either one of y'all. What's your advice?
For me, I would say slow down. Like, even though it's right there and it's in hand's reach, and even if people know about it, just slow down and really figure out who you are. Because at the core of it, you'll find that that's not even something you really want to pursue forever.
Right.
Like, I knew going forward I wanted kids. I knew I wanted to be married. I knew I wanted these things. And I'm like, well, I can't have that with a woman. So I knew mentally, like, I'm not going to do this forever. But for right now, I'm doing it because it's cool. It's accepted. It's giving me, the attention that I need. And I'm allowed to do what I want to do. Did you know it
was a phase at the time? Or did you feel like?
I've never had liked a guy at that point. I was a little different, so I couldn't really relate to that. I feel like now, I mean, relationships are hard in general. Honestly, it's easy to date a girl. Girls know girls. So I had to push myself out of my comfort zone regarding what was
so
pleasing
good.
to my flesh.
So
I had to
good.
push myself upon like what it was good for me. I couldn't let my relationship with my dad, like you were saying, affect, how I see all men or how I think men see me.
Y'all, okay, to my brothers, I got to pull y'all in. Mariah said something that I think was so huge. She said, I started looking for what I had in my dad into guys in college, right? And so with that being said, think about your college experience. How does that make you feel knowing that many of the girls that had crushes on you and was feeling you, that what they were really looking for is something of God in the form of a man, and then think about what you gave her instead? Right. How does that strike you guys, knowing that what she was really looking for was a man to connect to God through? How does that make you feel, hindsight 2020, hearing this from Mariah? Either one.
I know for me, it's definitely more conviction, even just hearing it now, but I feel like even at a small sense, as men, we know it, and we still take advantage of it.
Dude, speak that directly to that microphone. Charles, give me a bottle of water right now. I mean, really, find me some water. And say that into that microphone again.
I believe that we definitely have a sense of it, and we take advantage of it. We definitely do.
Chris just said he believes that a certain part of us knows she's searching for something, and men will manipulate and take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
Why? And it's not a heart thing from the man. It's just immaturity thing. Like we're that at that point, like I was saying, like we adults, but we ain't grown. We're not really men, right? I mean, we're still trying to figure things out. And for us, we take it how we can get it. If we're not mature enough.
Absolutely.
Sir, say something with that. Wow, that's powerful, man.
He's definitely right. And it's crazy because you can see it. Like you can see it. It's, if you be around so many women, you can tell which ones are searching for it. And it's like you said they're searching for a representation of God in us, and I didn't have that at the time. And so just going back, hindsight 21, thinking of the drinks that I would buy them, thinking of the places I would take them just to, butter them up, knowing what the goal was later on. It's just, like, I know it's wrong.
So okay, hear me on this. Because I've said this something on these lines at single conferences. Watch this. From the ladies that are here, I need you guys to share with me. First of all, raise your hand if you can say yes to this question. That you believe that if presented an opportunity to have sex with a very attractive woman, if she's extremely attractive, this man has opportunity to have sex with an extremely attractive woman, and it's his choice whether or not people find out or not, you believe that man is able to tell her no? Is he able to tell her no?
Yes.
Have you had that practical experience of someone telling a very attractive lady no? Has man ever told you no?
I'm married, so I'd hope my husband would tell them no. That's where I'm coming from.
I know you're coming from. We haven't gotten married yet, so this does not. Your husband, he's an exception to the rule, right? But when you think about men, has a man ever told you no? Has he said, you know what, Mariah, you're attractive, but I know that you're really searching for something beyond this moment, and I just love God too much to take advantage of you. Have you ever had a man tell you no?
Outside of my husband, no.
So, what might that have meant had a man told you when you got happy, and when you said, you know what, let me explore this other thing. Let me see what's going on the other side. What might it have meant if even in your teens and early 20s, a man would have said, L'Oreal, I kind of see where you are, and you are a very attractive, beautiful young lady, but I just don't, I'm not going to dishonor you like that, because I just see more in you than that. And though you're attractive and I want you, Mariah, I'm not going to bring myself to dishonor God's child like that. But sister, I mean, I know you're AKA, you ski weed and all that good stuff, and I'm excited about it, but I just can't, because I honor you too much for that. What might that have meant to you to hear that from a man as a young adult?
It would have been a lot. When I was transitioning, from the homosexual lifestyle, I had a guy for the first time tell me, Mariah, that's not cute. And I needed to hear that.
It's not cute, it's not you.
That's not cute. I'm not attracted to that. Because most men are, cultural say they're attracted to that. And so for the first time, a man said, Mariah, that's not who you are. That's not cute. You shouldn't be doing that. And so if I would have heard the same thing from a man regarding sexual experiences, then I would have looked at myself and respect myself a little bit more and reevaluated my decision.
So you're saying even that word from a younger man who is your peer, just hear that from a man, to look past your body and seeing who you are, that would have been impactful for you as a young lady?
It would have.
Wow. L'Oreal, what might that have meant if you heard that from a young man?
I think that would have gave me a little bit more respect for myself, honestly, because at that point, it was like, let's bust it down. It didn't matter.
You said bust down?
Let's bust down.
Okay.
Like, that's what it was.
Happy and bust down. Write this down.
But had a man come to me, even especially in college,
wow,
and said, you know what? Let's just go to the cafe and get something to eat. I really want to respect you. I want to date you. I want to do this. That would have given me everything that I didn't have, even from a dad perspective, from a high school perspective, everything that I never experienced before in life. That would have made that moment for me, and I would have begun to search for self-respect more than anything.
Darnell, Chris, are y'all hearing this, man? Are you hearing the amount of power we have, even as 18, 19-year-olds, when it comes to women? These sisters saying, had a man been affirmed me beyond what he sees, that would have. And so to think of young ladies, because this is the minority, think of young ladies who were ruined because no man stepped up to say that. I say this, and brothers, and y'all know I love men, I disciple men. I believe every man is a pastor of his home. Hear me on this tip, what I'm about to share. Most women, including these, except Mariah's one, most women will never meet a man who loved God too much to touch them before she has his last name, and Sheridan too, because y'all waited. Most women would never meet that. And we're hearing what that would mean if we start discipling our little boys earlier to honor women beyond their bodies. Why do you, and being guys, why aren't most why aren't teens and young adult men, why aren't they prepared to see these women beyond sex? Why aren't most men prepared, young men prepared? And I know the music is trash right about now, but aside from the music is a great big part of it, but why aren't most young men prepared for that?
We're not intentional.
Say, man, hold on. Keep talking.
We're not intentional. I think as men, we have to move with the mentality of intent.
And what must be the intentionality? Intentional on what?
I think the intention to love the way God loves us, with that compassion.
Speak in terms of the college version of you, because that's way over your head at 18, 19 years old. So what might, if Darnell had you, because I discipled this man, if I would have encountered you at 16, what could I may have told you or showed you that once you hit college and you meet one of these young ladies will help you see, Mariah, that ain't even you. That's not cute. You have so much more in you than that. What would have made you see them like that? Or at least change your way of thinking?
Honestly, man, there's really, I think, for me, it's getting in the word more and what God speaks over my life, like seeing others how God sees me.
So you're saying the Bible, did you give the Bible that much equity? Because sometimes in college students question the Bible. Like, how do we know this is the real Bible? You're saying even then, being introduced to the word would have. I have a theory.
That's a good question.
It's a great question. I ask great questions, by the way. You guys are going to notice that throughout this theme. My questions are great. Here's my theory. I think that certain things are caught before they're taught. And by that I mean, is it the absence of the model? I mean, have we, our definition of cool and strong, did that ever include a man who's able to save himself for marriage?
No, I didn't.
Because the ultimate act of strength is a man who can deny himself. The ultimate act of strength is a man, in the ultimate act of real love is saying, I love you too much to dishonor you with sex right now. But that's not the model. We don't learn it like that. And some of the music that we listen to is not conducive to that end either. Guys, we are not here talking about, okay, hold on, man. I really got to get to a couple of these questions while you guys here, but that's like, let's talk about marriage. The pros and cons of early marriage. Mariah?
Yes.
How old are you?
I am 24.
And how long you been married?
1 year.
So you got married at 23.
23, yes.
Why would you get married at 23 years young? What happened?
I ask myself that sometimes.
Husband, she's being transparent here, okay? Keep talking.
Oh, he knows. He'll tell you too.
Sure. She said, I asked myself that question before I came here.
So me and my husband, we met in 2018.
And what's his name?
Caleb.
What up, Caleb? Strong name, brother. That's in the Bible, in case you didn't know. Go ahead.
So we met in 2018, and we dated for 9 months, and then got engaged in that process.
Were you in college? Y'all got engaged?
No, I was
2000.
out.
Okay,
So graduated in 17, met in 18, and got married within 9 months of knowing each other.
Okay.
So we just, did our 1 year marriage. A lot of pros. I started with the good things.
Okay.
So the pros of getting married young, I will say, I think we just get to grow with each other. I feel like the younger you are, typically, the more innocence you have.
The younger you are.
Typically, depending on your life experience. So we're able to take our innocence in certain areas and make it and turn it into intimacy with each other. And I feel like that's something rare because this world.
I've never heard that.
This world is out to, just over time, you're exposed to different things, which makes it tougher and tougher to really be
Oh my
committed.
goodness. So that now, and this goes against the theory of let me live my life first. See, this goes against listen, I'm getting married at 65. Because she's saying the danger in that is that we have not been exposed to a lot of things, so we don't have a lot of bad habits to break. Because honestly, when you get about 33 or whatever, hopefully most times you would have had your own house, you make your own money, you've been doing this, your own budget, you have your own way of living, and it could be hard for to let someone else come in the house to kind of. I remember I had been married for like 2, maybe 3 months. I was sitting at home watching. Look, I was sitting in my apartment. I've been married for 3. So I was sitting in my apartment. You catch that in a minute. Watching television. I hear these keys at the door. Look at the door, and all of a sudden, Nikki, my wife, comes walking in. She walks in, speaks, walks past me, go to the kitchen, puts the stuff down, walks past me, go upstairs, and it hit me. She live here. I'm like, she really does live here. And that was crazy because it didn't dawn on me that we really cohabitate, and that could be tough when you like living alone. You feel me? And so that's an interesting take. One of those the pros is that we're innocent, we're young, we have not experienced a lot, so we get to grow together. Now, give me a con.
I feel like the con is very similar, having to grow together at such an early age, and I say that because I am learning that I still have a lot to learn about myself. So learning a lot about myself and another person is a lot.
Yeah, and at 22, 23, okay, no shade. How old are you?
28.
How old are you?
27.
22.
28, 27, 22, 24.
23.
23. Yo, I'm going to tell y'all something, and just trust me. Y'all don't even know yourselves yet. It's something about 30, 30, 31 being that rites of passage when you get to really kind of know kind of who you are. And so I can see that. So what do you tell the young people who are 22, 23, they in love, child, and they about to get married? And they love the person. What do you tell them as a young person who got married and is married, and you Caleb, because his name's in the Bible?
Yes,
what do you tell the young lady who's thinking about getting married?
I have to give my husband a lot of credit on this one. I encourage young ladies to really take a step back and evaluate how you and your partner met and how intentional he is. Like you guys were saying, my husband was super intentional, so intentional I thought it was weird the first time I met him. I was like, okay, why are you telling me, expressing all your feelings for me? Because I wasn't used to it.
The baby was in love.
He was, and super intentional.
Like, what's wrong with you? Weak. I need a thumb.
Yes, and just his intentionality carrying on into our marriage is really what keeps us going through these tough times.
Wow. So like your dad at that time, he met you where you were.
Exactly.
On the brother side, because you recently engaged. So when is y'all's wedding date?
September 17th.
September 17th. Is it this year?
This year, yes, sir.
Am I doing it?
Yes, you are.
Well, thank you for sharing. So how has that been for you? I mean, because you did not date correct ways for like other, because he was a player. I mean, he's this dude. No, I'm not saying that online. So tell me, how do you make the decision that you want to change from a bachelor lifestyle, doing what you want to do, when you want to do it? What makes you say, and it now as a discipled man, so you know what? This is the one I want to give my last name to. How did you arrive to that decision?
So I think for me, it was just after, like I said, I in college and all that, didn't date the right way and things like that. So when I moved back out here to the Dallas area, met her. I think I knew that I wanted to go forward with her. On our first date, we met and we talked, and we just talked for like 3 hours. Where we been?
On the phone?
Like no, it's in person. Okay. At a bowling alley.
3 hours. At the bowling alley.
As our first
3
date,
hours.
We talked 3 hours. I hate we paid for the lane by time instead of thing he had to.
This dude said, I hate we paid for the lane by time.
No,
Go ahead.
3 hours. And like I said, being intentional, just talked about what I wanted, what we wanted. If we're going to date, we have to do this the right way. You know, are you a Christian? Things like that. And from there, once we started dating more often, and it's like.
Were you discipled yet when you met her?
No, I was not a disciple when I met her. I was not a disciple. And we talked about the whole sex thing and everything. And for us to both say we're not going to do this until we're married, and me actually wanting to uphold that and keep that. I usually say that to women growing up in college and all that, but no, I had different intentions in mind. But actually want to keep that word and to honor that. I'm like, she must be someone special for me to do that.
So you had your mind made up, but you still had bad habits of dating.
Terrible
so that
habits.
still had to have been really tough for you guys, even though your heart was in the right place. Right. You know, sometimes if there's nothing between you but air and opportunity, it can be a problem. So how did you? And
so I think that's why it's important to have a model, whether it's a mentor, having a church to go to, being a disciple like that. That helped me so much more than you ever knew. Because now it's like, I knew I wasn't in this alone. I had other brothers to talk to about the struggles, to help me out when things, temptations arise, things to kind of principles to implement to help me during that process.
And Lord, what would that mean when you and Sheridan was dating and you messed with him? He trying to tell you to stop. I'm trying to wait till I get married. How did that make you look at him, for him to be a man telling you we really need to do this the right way?
That made me even more attracted to him. I'm like, he don't want to touch me.
And no, she was terrible though. I mean, go ahead.
I was like, amen, Jesus. I'm so happy he don't want to touch me. Like, it made me want to touch him more, but it was like, I know we're waiting.
Did she hear the hand? She said,
I know. I just, want to get at him. But he was like, no, like, we really going to do this the right way. So
wow.
That showed me, 1, I could trust him. 2, he was a man of his word.
Wow.
And 3, he was going to be a great leader because he was already showing me we going by the word.
I love it.
Like,
I love it.
So.
And you know something, for my Christian individuals, especially if one of you is more spiritually mature than the other, let me share some with you. Well, more especially to men. when you start out and she knows that you are a Christian man, and especially if you've been discipled, and all Christians aren't disciples, so that's a different lesson, that you can be saved but not discipled. Disciple means that you have made an intentional effort to learn the ways of Christ, to know Scripture, know what prayer means. You've changed your pattern of living. You are a disciple, not just in your heart, but in your walk. Your mind is being transformed to match what your heart is, right? And so I tell men that when you meet a young lady and you come up, listen, I love the Lord and blase, blase. Here's the deal, bro. She will still likely sleep with you. And she won't try to hold it against you. But there's a certain part of her, you lose a certain amount of credulity and respect when you can't be who you publicly say that you are. I mean, she loves you, so she's going to grade on the curve, but there's a certain amount of respect that you lose. Watch this. How can you be so committed to her when you're not even that committed to God?
That's true. That's good.
That makes sense what I'm saying? And for ladies, the same thing. If you, because a lot of men, they sometimes meet a woman who's further along in their spiritual journey than he is. And so she in church, and she's shouting in church. She's saying, thank you, Jesus, at church. And then you say the same thing when y'all go home. You miss that. Say it slow. You're saying, thank you, Jesus, at church. Then when y'all go home, you tell him, you're saying, thank you, Jesus. So you missed that. Y'all, I got you. That's why I said it again. And so even for him, you're showing, okay, so how can she be submitted to me when she ain't totally submitted to him? Or is it situational? So you do lose something when you don't keep your word when it comes to who you're supposed to be. Guys, we are all over the place. This is just out the window, the stuff we're supposed to talk about. Chuck, we have questions? This is ridiculous. We just missed our whole thing.
I see a comment that I would love for you to respond to, Pastor, because it's something I can relate to. I know
Go ahead and read
being a PK, one of the things that when we get to the point to where we're dating and we think about marriage, one of the big things in our head is that we were ingrained no sex before marriage, and that becomes one of the main reasons why you're like, ooh, let me try to get married. What is it? Are there dangers, pros, cons of like that being like one of the at the forefront? Because you counsel a lot of people. Do you ask married couples like, is this the only reason y'all trying to get married? Because if it is, like, what's the warning for people where we just want to get married because hey, we trying to get it popping? What's up?
Yeah, you know that scripture is better to marry than to burn, and something, you know. And I always say that fear is never a good motivator for nothing. I mean. In the Bible, there's a word of fear called phobos, and that's like a phobia type fear, I'm afraid type thing. And then there's a healthy reverential fear. I think to the fear that because I revere God so much, I don't want to. That's a healthy fear. Matter of fact, the Proverbs say that that fear is the beginning of knowledge of God. So I can respect a healthy fear. But to the question is saying, I just want to get married to have sex. Like what do you tell that person? Man, now I know okay, let me say this as best as I can without offending our 70-year-old streamers. Oh, man. We're in a culture, though, that I don't even think that this, I mean, and y'all help me out, though. We're in a culture that I don't even think that people feel that they have to be married to have sex, though. I don't think that's a true deterrent, because we're in a culture where I will date you because you wifey and we're not having sex, but I'm going to hit this one because that's not my wife. And people right now are actually dating who they not sleeping with, but they hitting this one right here. And so I don't even think that's a real thing today, that people are literally only getting married to have sex. I think people get married to what they're very attracted to, that we look good together, we have good sex, but I don't think that's the main thing to make you get married because of sex, because most people aren't waiting to get married before they have sex.
Some people are, though.
Huh?
Some people are, and it is a high priority.
Some do, but I would say that person that you're not mature enough to get married if this is your primary reason for wanting to get married, to have sex. You're not mature enough, because what happens when you get married and he or she no longer likes it, and their libido drops. They no longer like having sex how they used to. Now where you are. And it's a real thing. There are things called sexless marriages. Yes, ma'am. You have something you want to say there?
Our generation is very stuck on this mindset where we would rather ask for forgiveness from God than permission.
Yeah.
And so
not just y'all. Yeah, that's been around for a minute.
And so I think that's one of the biggest things right now is that I would rather just ask God to forgive me than to be like, well, I'll wait till marriage.
Sure. So come on, young people. Why is that so? Why is it hard to wait? Why is it hard to wait?
Honestly, because people say, well, if it's coming from me, people say, well, what if you don't like it? Or you have to test it out. You got to test drive it.
Sure. And go ahead.
I was about to say, a lot of that too comes from if you've already had past sexual experiences and now you have this person where you're attracted to them, you know, they have all these other different qualities that you like, I can see this being my spouse, but I don't know about this one thing. Because then you start thinking about person XYZ who you have had, and it's like, dang, I don't know.
Well, first and foremost, you've already contaminated it, so those thoughts don't go nowhere. That's something you have to pray through because, you know, it becomes a part of who you are. You have to know how to navigate past demons and past mistakes. So it doesn't go away just because you get married. That's numero uno. I would tell a person, because sex is beyond physical, and I think you have to kind of rewire how you think of sex. Because if your idea of sex is all physical, then you're missing the mark anyway. Good sex is more about chemistry. If you have great chemistry with a person, you have good sex. If your mindset is, if you are a giver, if you have two givers, that my objective is to see you please and to give, and that person matches your objective, that's going to be great sex. And so the rest, so you YouTube everything else. I mean, if you're trying to learn some different stuff, let your innocence, let y'all explore together. Try new things together. And when you're married, I tell you, the bedroom, that's your playground. Try it. You may love it. But I would say don't try to make who you with a carbon copy of who you've sinned with formerly. Because sometimes we'll say, well, me and XYZ used to do this. But this is not that person. And so now you're sleeping with ghosts. Right? And can't nobody compete with a ghost. And I would say if I had one thing to do over again, I would have been a virgin until my marriage. I think if there's one of the biggest mistakes I made was expose myself to sex before marriage. And I had my roommate, he lives in Houston, he has to ask me this question, man, what's the one thing that you regret? Because he sees a lot of things that are going well in my life. He said, what's the one thing that you regret? And without hesitation, I said, I wish I was a virgin when I got married. Because I'm the one that after being married, I would literally get out of bed at night, get on my knees, pray, and ask God to remove those past memories. Because it doesn't feel good to be laying in bed in your mind replaying former experiences. And so don't be jealous. And sometimes people are jealous that they hadn't had all this experience. And men, we so stupid that we figure that, you know what, I'm going to get married as soon as I get to number 100. I need to see with 100 women first, or 50. I need to get all these experiences first. Watch this. Men so stupid. You know what men say? They got to get it out of their system. I got to sow my oats. I got to get all this crazy sex out of my system, and then I'll get married. And we don't realize that we're just building up ghosts. That's gonna we're giving ourselves more ghosts to haunt us with later. And that's how men think. Am I right? Like, we'll do it, but let me. I'm gonna get married, but let me kind of do this other thing first. Chuck, you got another one?
A parent asked, even beyond just kind of like conversations about what we're talking about intimacy with your youth, what are some other conversations that you wish that adults would have had with you as you entered into your grownness stage? Even beyond this, we didn't talk about this for a little while, but what's some other stuff that you wish that adults or parents would have talked to you about?
That is a great question. And keep your answers 8 seconds ago or less. The question is, what do you wish your parents would have told you before you entered your grownish years?
I would have wished I would have known their past, their sin, them being vulnerable, having that perspective would have helped me a lot for sure.
Whoa! So you to see, because that means you can identify with them.
Absolutely.
He said, "I wish my parents would have shared their shortfalls with me. That way, I would have known that they can identify with mine." That's a good one. Anyone else? What would be a great thing for your parents to have told you before you entered these years that would have been a blessing to you?
Definitely about the financial part of this whole grownish thing, but she couldn't tell me something she didn't even know how to do. So
that's good. So you don't hold that against her.
Right.
Gotcha.
I can't.
That's good. So I wish you would have told me more about finances to prepare me. Got it. Who else? Especially on this God tip, because this is because for the PK being raised by a pastor, I mean, that's scary for a lot of pastors saying, "Man, you mean my child may not know Jesus?" How could they have ensured that you had your own relationship as opposed to hoboing off of theirs?
I think for me, one thing that I would have appreciated, how do I word this? I feel like it's a blessing when you have parents who speak words over you that the Bible says, but at the same time, kind of like you were saying, it's okay to affirm them to yourself. Like there's a blessing in when someone physically affirms you, like family affirms you, say you are worthy, and when you do not feel worthy, how you can kind of explore that, not only in God's word, but just by having a real conversation with my parents or your loved ones. And I feel like I'm a big go on therapy. Me and my husband do therapy. I do therapies individually. And a lot of the times, as adults, we're trying to unlive and fix a lot of stuff that happened from when we were a child. And if parents were to, just affirm themselves, like heart to heart affirm one another, it would kind of help bridge that gap a little bit. Give me any sense.
Give me an example. I'll be you and you be your mom or your dad. Right. Wait a minute, that's weird. I'll be your brother. So just give me an example of what you're saying of affirming me. Well, give me an example.
Just something super practical, like if...
Talk to me.
Like if I'm dating someone who is not good for me, instead of, saying, that boy wasn't good for you, no way. Say, you know what, Mariah, you've learned from this. You are better than this. I'm so happy and glad that you've realized this about yourself, and take these traits and move forward with them, and do not forget how you felt.
So don't beat me up with my mistake.
Exactly.
So affirm me in my mistake.
Exactly.
I like that. Don't condemn me in my mistakes. Just say, listen, you know what? That was a tough one, but I'm glad you learned. You're that much better as a result. So she said she wished that her parents would have affirmed her in her mistake. Not affirming the mistake, but saying that you're still awesome. You just made a bad mistake. That's a good one. Darnell? What would have benefited if your dad or mom to have told you growing up that would have prepared you better for adulthood?
The only thing I can think of, as parents are super supportive, is honestly how to, almost kind of on the lines of what you were saying, how to deal with conflict.
With confidence?
With conflict, how to deal with
conflict.
I say that because, growing up, I never saw them argue, never saw them, get in a heated conversation, never saw them almost really mad at each other. So my dad was telling me, I'm sure they have done that, but they kind of hid that from us. So growing up, I thought that's how things are supposed to be.
Whoa,
so
that's good.
When our first argument with my fiance, with my brother's friends, it's just, my thing was I shoved it under the rug and just kept going, and it just kept building up till it just exploded. And
I
never realized it until I never saw the conflict growing up in the house.
That's good. Your dad kind of laid back. He like the cool alpha. He kind of laid
real
back.
Cool, laid back guy, man.
Yeah,
real cool, laid back.
That's a good one. So parents, he said, I wish my parents would have modeled conflict resolution.
That's what it is.
Beautiful. Who else? What might you wish your parent would have told you growing up?
I think it's kind of like a mixture of what all three of them are saying. I think a big problem that me and my parents have right now is having these adult conversations, because they still kind of see me as this child, but I'm
your parents?
I'm trying to have these conversations with them, about my future and mistakes that they've made and how I can learn from them. So, I guess just kind of like what she said, affirming, and if I make a mistake, telling me how I can learn from it, I can learn from it, instead of, degrading me or beating me down for it.
Now, guys, we're a few minutes over time, but I gotta deal with this. Do you have another one?
I did, but I actually wanted to speak on something that I appreciated. It was just the ability to practice. I think.
Sex or?
No. Practice as far as.
No, Chris.
No,
you missed the point.
No, absolutely not. But as far as, I feel like my mom, she made me practice apologizing. She made me practice.
I like
forgiving.
that. My mom made me practice apologizing. I like that.
And so it allowed me at an older age to be able to express that a lot easier. And
That's
I don't
good.
see that in men, just being able to accept who they are and be able to be vulnerable.
Do you know who Keith Sweat is?
I do.
Listen to Keith Sweat.
I do.
Listen. So we got. I want to throw this out there. Social circles. It's like when you're in college, you have one social circle. Has that circle changed or shrank since you've been out of school? I mean, and how important is that? Did you have to be intentional to change circles and change who you communicate with, or tell me about that quickly, and we got to roll, because I think certain people are trapped in a college mindset, and they still feel that who they roll with in college are still their best friends, but best friends change. I mean, sometimes best friends are for a phase. That was your best friend when you were here in your life. It's not your best friend now that you're married. It's not your best friend now that you're an entrepreneur. So how important is it, or how can young adults recognize when you've outgrown a friend? I mean, how do you know if, you know what, we still will be social media friends or whatever, but we really can't kick it like that, because no shade, but I'm just beyond that. How do you make that determination as a young adult? Anyone?
For me, wherever I was headed, whatever direction I was headed in, I naturally grew out of that mindset. So I went from a homegirl mindset to, okay, I'm a mom now. I got to shift my mentality there. So now I'm hanging out with more moms.
Right.
And then when I was, had found myself in the Lord and knew I wanted to be a wife at some point in life, I had to shift and start, wives became my friends. I had to learn what a woman was, because I was still in a college girl mindset. Even with the child, I still had that college girl mindset. So I had to learn what was to be a woman. So I started hanging out with women, like real women who had husbands, kids, their own businesses, all of that.
Loria, you about to get people in trouble now, because if that's the case, you're saying that married people should not have a whole bunch of single friends. True or false?
I don't think married people should have a whole bunch of single friends.
Right.
But like Yada, they were my friends, and I was the single one within Yada. It was mostly married women in Yada, but yet they took me in.
Sure.
And still mentored me and loved on me and showed me what it was to be
I think it's looked at differently, though, being a single person with married, settled friends, as opposed to being a married person with single, unsettled friends. Those are two different things. Anybody else, like your friend, did your circle have to change?
My circle had to change. I knew that the level God was taking me, I couldn't take the friends that I had with it as well. I was going to keep doing the same things, the party and the clubbing and things like that. And at first, I know for a while, I tried to keep those same friends. I tried to be like everywhere, hanging with the people that I wanted to be, the disciples in the church, but then hanging with them on the side. And that was just too much. It was tearing me down.
So you had side friends. Instead of a side chick, you had side homies.
Side friends.
Wow.
Side friends.
You had your church friends and your side friends.
My club friends.
So you was righteous ratchet.
I tried to mix the both of it.
So how do you break free, though? I mean, how do you just stop answering the phone? How do you practically move yourself away from that element? not just saying it's evil, but it's just not where you are anymore.
Right. And I think just having a conversation with them, and once they see you're serious about,
it is.
So you see you're serious about it, which means, hey, dog, I know you want to go out this. I can't do this no more. I got to serve at the church. I can't do this no more. I don't do things like that no more. Once they see you're serious, they have to respect it.
They need to. So you need to actually live out what you're saying. You can't be, man. I just hate this. I'm so glad I'm in church, man. And you know this. I'm so glad I'm in church, and man, and these. You know, and my lifestyle has totally changed, man. And so I ain't the same person.
Exactly. No, that's so real, though. That's so good. That's so good.
So you give me my money, Mariah.
Yeah, that's a $100 bill.
Mariah, like, trying to make some change up in here. Do something strange for some change. So the ladies, anything you guys want to share with us with how do you move past that? I mean, because I think you're right. I think if you just live your faith out loud, you don't have to get rid of friends. They'll just kind of back up off you once they see that you're for real. Was that y'all's experience?
I will say that it definitely changed within college. I'm the type of person that once I have a friend, you're locked with me. Like, I like lifelong friends. Like, if you're my friend, we're best friends.
You're that stalker friend, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so throughout college, I just had to realize that there are some people who weren't beneficial for me mentally, especially. Sure. And so it wasn't like I just dropped them, I just stopped calling them and stuff like that. It was just kind of like I had to think about myself before, going out clubbing or going out partying or whatever. Okay. Anything you want to add to that before we get to close out?
No, I disagree. I feel like, really short and simple, when you start losing your ambition towards good things, your crowd needs to change. When you start doing what? Say one more time. Losing your ambition.
Okay.
Because the people who aren't good for you are going to stay in the same place.
And they'll be about pushing you to where you're trying to go.
Exactly.
Right. And so now are you a blogger? What are you on social media? You like blogger or?
Yeah, I share my personal. I'm much more than a blogger, but I share my
Charles
personal.
Says you're a blogger. I don't know what you mean by that.
It's okay. Yeah. I share my personal experiences
Mm-hmm.
On social media. I use my platform so people can understand that they're not alone, and that we're all human trying to make it through life together.
Sure. So what is that like your vocation? You get paid for that?
No, I don't get paid for it. So I work full time in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I know we didn't get to the entrepreneur.
We really didn't get to entrepreneurship at all. Sorry, guys.
It's okay, but I do a full-time job, and then after college, I found something that I was good at, which was modeling, which I brought income from that. And then I found something that I was passionate about, which was property rental and Airbnbs. So I've been doing a lot.
Okay, guys, we gotta touch it. I'm sorry, I gotta get 7 minutes to entrepreneurship because we have a lot of people that they're in that pool of, here's what I'm passionate about, but I got bills. So give me quickly, how did you make this transition from your 9 to 5 to now doing full-time photography, from your 9 to 5 to your multiple business? Because you're like a chronic entrepreneur. You have like 3 or 4 things you do.
I do.
So how do you, and you making money, right? Okay, because you can't advise if you broke and doing this stuff. That's not a good model. How do you tell the individual who's passionate, how do they determine it's time to step away from 9 to 5 into their passion? Either one of you guys can step in it really quickly. We got to roll.
Real quick, I say focus on 3 things. 1, focus on something that you're good at. So something that you enjoy doing, your passion. For me, that was home properties. 2, find something that you're not necessarily passionate about, but it makes money. For me, that was modeling. And for 3, get a job in your degree and be patient. That will have the checks flowing in. And you invest that back into what you're passionate about until you have enough money to switch over.
I love it. Now, she said 3 things. But now, it starts with a job, right, to pay bills.
Something you got your
then it's something that I don't necessarily enjoy it, but I don't hate it, and it makes money. And this is something I love to do. And it comes in like primary, secondary, tertiary, in that order?
Sometimes, yes.
And so you know when to wean from one as you start making money in the other 2 or 3. Two, the second or the third.
And I'm sure he could talk on that, because I haven't weaned yet. I'm still doing 3.
Okay, you're still doing 3? Yes.
Say 3 more times. I'm sorry.
The 3? No, just saying how you transferred over from doing a 9 to 5, doing full-time.
Yeah.
And now full-time photographer.
Got you. So definitely a lot of prayer on it. But what I did, I just kind of calculated how much was I making doing the photography on the side, and it was kind of, evening out to what I was doing full-time at the news station. And so I really just prayed to God and took a leap of faith. And
so you just quit. Is somebody to jump into photography?
I did.
Did you have your own place at that time?
I did have my own place.
You was living by yourself?
By myself.
Were you selling weed?
No, I wasn't selling no weed.
So once you got your own place, it just made you just push harder on the photography piece.
It really did. It made me push so much harder, which it can be dangerous, but it made me push so much harder just to get things right, because I'm like, I don't have that security at the job.
Now here's the thing though. He's a boy too. And as a guy, we don't need him but an air mattress and a TV.
That's true. I had to have a couch in the living room.
That's what I'm saying. So we live like daggum cavemen, but it's a little different if you got a family and responsibilities. If it's just you just need someone's couch for a season. And so you have to look at what's your expenses.
Exactly. And then I also want to add, just for those doing a 9-to-5, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all.
At all. Just make sure, if you do want to do that full-time entrepreneurship, just make sure you are ready, because, if you don't like dealing with people, at your job and things like that, if you quit and go full-time entrepreneurship, you're going to be dealing with people the same way. So just make sure you're really ready.
That's a good word, man, because sometimes people want to be an entrepreneur. You ain't like people.
Yeah.
But you want to be an entrepreneur when in the people business. It's like trying to pastor a church if you don't like people. It's
exactly.
Weird. So with the individual who will look at entrepreneurship as something they want, like I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be this. What's the side of that they may not see? What's the other side? What's the tough part? They see you, your own boss. They see you make some money. They see you now blowing up on social media and this type. But what don't they see about the successful entrepreneur? That if they knew, they wouldn't be so quick to jump out there like that.
Sometimes they don't see the 2, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. nights just trying to prepare for your business and replying back to emails, get things right. They don't see sometimes the sacrifice, you want to spend time with fiance, but you also want to provide for the family as well, working like that. So it's just some of those little things.
Long hours. Because you're responsible for that check.
Yes, and you're the only one responsible for it.
That's it. And sometimes there's security in knowing a guy got a check coming. Anything you want to add with that?
No, I agree. I say keep your day job for a minute. Work. You can work up. For those who don't want to, be an entrepreneur just yet, you can find a good job and work your way up. I'm currently doing that. Mm-hmm. But like he was saying, just know that you are ready and you have enough money saved up, because variables will happen. When the tax prices in Dallas went up, that was not fun for my bank account. So you just never know.
I think that's just wisdom. So she mentioned the S word, savings. So for all entrepreneurs, for all my young adults, let me just share this with you. We got to roll up out here. Please, don't buy a car so quick. Don't get you a car note so quick, and pay yourself. People, you're gonna pay God first, and then pay yourself first. Your bills aren't going nowhere. They're not gonna be stressed. If you are 14 days late on this bill, if even just 5%, I recommend by 12 to 15%, save that. It feels a lot better when you're grinding and you have something in the bank. It doesn't motivate you at all. You work like a dog and have no money to show for it. I know what former generations have said. Listen, baby, let's pay all your bills and everything. That's depressing. You want to pay your bills, and you want to have something in the bank. Have you some type of equity in yourself. Pay yourself something out of every single check. Be disciplined. If you made $10, you got to have $1.50 in the bank of what you made. And because watch this, if 10 to 15% is the difference between you eating and being homeless, then you living beyond your means. That's why I tell people about tithing. If 10% causes a disruption in your lifestyle, you're living beyond your means. So some of these principles of stewardship is to keep you in check with your lifestyle. Hey guys, we have went way over. So thankful for our guests today. The hearts on the screens for our guests, all that good stuff. And they have all you guys are on social media. Okay, do I follow all y'all? Do I follow you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, give me all your stuff. I want to follow y'all, keep up with y'all, make sure y'all stick to these principles we talked about. Yes, hey, guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in to Koinonia Couch. We will have our guests back when they turn 30 and when they realize who they are. Because right now, they have no idea who they are. When they hit 30, we're going to have them back to see what has changed. We're going to play this tape, and then we're going to say, you see how dumb you were about 3 years ago? And so we're gonna roll with it. God bless y'all. Peace, love. Thank y'all for joining us. Thank you, guys. Hands up, hands together, clap for each other. Guests, good job, good job, good job. That's a wrap. Good job. People, that just went so in the direction but I think it was good. You two broke the ice. Yeah, I think what she said, that your transparency